Captain stood on the bridge of the diplomatic vessel Harmony, watching the massive alien ships appear on her screens. There were 50 of them, each one larger than any human spacecraft ever built. Their hulls were dark purple and covered with strange symbols that glowed with an eerie green light. The ships moved in perfect formation, like predators circling their prey. "They're hailing us," her communications officer said quietly. Nodded and straightened her uniform. This was it. First contact with an alien civilization. Humanity had dreamed of this moment for centuries. She just wished the aliens had arrived with fewer warships. "Put them through," she ordered. The main screen flickered and showed a creature that made several crew members gasp. The alien had 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern on its face. Its skin was thick and covered with bony plates. When it spoke, its mouth revealed rows of sharp teeth. "I am High Executor Eth of the NIGMA Empire," the creature announced. Its voice was translated by the ship's computer into words could understand. "You are the humans." "I am Captain of the Human Federation," she replied calmly. "We welcome you in peace." Eth made a sound that the computer translated as laughter. "Peace? How amusing. We have claimed this region of space for the NIGMA Empire. Your species will submit to our authority. You will pay tribute of resources and technology. You will follow our laws. This is not a request." Felt her jaw tighten, but she kept her voice steady. "We appreciate your introduction, High Executor. However, humanity governs itself. We would be happy to discuss trade agreements or cultural exchange, but we cannot accept subjugation." Behind her, Ambassador Park stepped forward. He was an older man with gray hair and calm eyes that had seen many negotiations. He had been chosen specifically for this mission because of his diplomatic skills. "Perhaps we can find common ground," said smoothly. "The galaxy is vast enough for all of us. Why not build a relationship based on mutual respect?" Eth's 4 eyes focused on with what looked like contempt. "Mutual respect. We are the NIGMA Empire. We control 300 star systems. Our empire has existed for 10,000 years. You humans control only 12 systems. Your ships have no energy shields. Your weapons are primitive kinetic devices. You are like children playing with toys." Scientist Minu, who was standing at his station recording everything, spoke up. "With respect, High Executor, we may be young compared to your civilization, but we are not helpless. Perhaps it would be wise to avoid assumptions." Eth ignored him completely. "I have transmitted our demands to your ship's computer. You have 30 of your Earth days to accept. If you refuse, we will take what we want by force. Your compliance is inevitable. Resistance will only increase your suffering." The screen went dark as the NIGMA ships cut the transmission. For a long moment, nobody on the bridge spoke, then turned to her crew. "Someone get me a direct line to Earth. The Council needs to know about this immediately." Was already reviewing the NIGMA demands on a portable screen. His face grew darker with each line he read. "They want 50% of our resources from all 12 systems. They want access to all our research and technology. They want human representatives to bow before their emperor in a public ceremony. And they want 10,000 humans sent to their as. The word they use translates to servants." "Slaves," said flatly. "They want slaves." "It appears so," agreed. Minu was busy analyzing the scans they had taken of the NIGMA ships. "Captain, their technology is definitely more advanced than ours in some ways. Those energy shields could be a problem, but their ship designs are inefficient. They rely too heavily on size and power. No creativity in their tactics from what I can see in their formation patterns." Walked to the large window that showed the stars outside. Somewhere out there was Earth, where her daughter was starting school this year, where her parents tended their small garden, where billions of humans lived peaceful lives, unaware that everything was about to change. "Send a message back to the NIGMA fleet," she said quietly. Ambassador Park will deliver it. Stood before the communications array and signaled for the message to begin transmitting. The ambassador looked directly into the camera, his expression serious but not hostile. High Executor Eth, we have reviewed your demands. The Human Federation must decline. We mean you no harm and we wish for peace between our peoples, but we will not surrender our freedom. We will not submit to subjugation. This is our only warning. Leave us in peace and we can be friends. Continue down this path and you will regret it. We do not want conflict, but we will not avoid it if forced. Please reconsider your position. The message was sent on all frequencies, ensuring the NIGMA fleet received it clearly. Hours later, as the Harmony began its journey back to human space, the crew received a response. It was not from Eth, but it was being broadcast across multiple NIGMA communication networks. The aliens had taken its warning and turned it into entertainment. The message played on millions of NIGMA worlds. It showed human ships that looked tiny compared to NIGMA vessels. It showed human colonies that seemed primitive. And then it showed Eth himself, speaking to what appeared to be a crowd of NIGMA citizens. The humans have warned us, he said, his 4 eyes gleaming with amusement. These primitive creatures who barely understand space travel have warned the mighty NIGMA Empire. How shall we respond to this threat? The crowd erupted in laughter. Watched the broadcast with a heavy heart. She had hoped for peace. She had genuinely wanted to avoid what was coming, but she also understood something the NIGMA did not. Humanity had not expanded into space because they were warriors. They had expanded because they were survivors. Earth's history was filled with species that had underestimated humans. Most of those species were now extinct. Set course for Earth, she ordered. Maximum speed. The Council needs to convene immediately. As the Harmony jumped to faster-than-light travel, looked one more time at the recording of Eth laughing at humanity's warning. She thought about her daughter, about her parents, about all the humans who were about to have their peaceful lives shattered. You were warned, she whispered to the empty bridge. We gave you every chance. The 30 days passed too quickly. Admiral Song stood in the command center of the Human Defense Station orbiting Terra Nova, watching the NIGMA fleet emerge from faster-than-light travel. There were 200 ships this time, all positioned in attack formation. The station's sensors counted their weapons charging, their shields at maximum power. All civilian transports are away, her second-in-command reported. We evacuated 3 million people to the underground shelters. 1 million remain in the capital city. There wasn't enough time. Closed her eyes briefly. Not enough time. Never enough time. The Human Federation Council had spent the last 30 days in desperate preparation, but moving entire populations was not easy. Terra Nova had been a peaceful farming world. Its 4 million people had never expected war. Fleet status, she asked. 37 ships in defensive positions. Another 20 en route but won't arrive for 6 hours. 37 ships against 200. The NIGMA had not come to negotiate. Commander Lee entered the command center, still wearing his combat armor from the Special Operations drill. His team had been training non-stop since the Harmony returned with news of the NIGMA ultimatum. Admiral, my teams are ready, reported. If they board the station, we'll make them pay for every meter. Nodded, let's hope it doesn't come to that. The NIGMA fleet was broadcasting now. War Marshal Ox appeared on every screen, his armored body even more intimidating than High Executor Eth had been. He was clearly a military commander, not a diplomat. Humans of Terra Nova, Ox announced. Your government has rejected the mercy of the NIGMA Empire. You now face the consequences of that foolish decision. Surrender your world immediately and your deaths will be quick. Resist, and your suffering will be legendary. Admiral Song activated her own broadcast. War Marshal Ox, This is Admiral Song of the Human Defense Fleet. We have no wish to fight, but we will defend our people. Your invasion is illegal and unprovoked. Withdraw now, and no further harm needs to come to anyone." Ox laughed just as Eth had laughed. "Defend. With your primitive ships, I will enjoy crushing your fleet, human. Open fire." The NIGMA ships released a massive wave of energy weapons. The bright blue beams cut through space toward the human fleet. Admiral gave the order to engage. The human ships moved with surprising speed, dodging most of the initial volley. Their return fire was different from what the NIGMA expected. Instead of energy beams, the human ships fired solid projectiles that moved incredibly fast. The NIGMA shields stopped most of them, but a few penetrated, causing minor damage. "Interesting," Ox mused. "They have some skill, no matter, continue the assault." For 20 minutes, the battle raged in orbit above Terra Nova. The human fleet fought well, better than the NIGMA had anticipated. But the numbers were overwhelming. One by one, human ships took critical damage and were forced to retreat. Doctor watched the battle from the science station on Terra Nova's surface. She was a weapons researcher, one of the minds in the Human Federation. Her hands clenched into fists as she watched the fleet fall back. "They're retreating according to plan," her assistant said. "I know," replied quietly, "but the plan requires sacrifice." Above them, Admiral gave the order she had been dreading. "All ships, fall back to Rally Point Delta. We cannot hold this position." The surviving human ships jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving Terra Nova's orbit empty. The NIGMA fleet had won. War Marshal Ox was pleased. "Pathetic. Their admiral ran away. Now let us teach these humans the price of defiance." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target the capital city. Maximum power. Show them what happens when you refuse the NIGMA empire." "Sir, there are 1 million civilians in that city," one of his officers noted. "Good," Ox said coldly. "Let them be an example to the rest of humanity." The NIGMA flagship's main weapon charged. It was a massive energy cannon designed to destroy fortified military bases. Using it on a civilian city was excessive, but Ox wanted to send a message. On Terra Nova's surface, people looked up at the sky. Some prayed, some held their loved ones, some simply stood in silent acceptance of what was coming. The beam fired. The capital city of Terra Nova ceased to exist in 3 seconds. 200,000 humans died instantly. The destruction was so complete that nothing remained except a crater of melted rock and glass. The NIGMA fleet broadcasted the footage across their empire. They wanted everyone to see what happened to those who them. But they also sent the footage to every human world. That was their fatal mistake. In the Human Federation Council chambers on Earth, Ambassador Park stood before the assembly. His face was pale, his hands shaking as he watched the footage of Terra Nova's capital being destroyed. He had family there. Had, past tense now. "Mr. Ambassador," the council president said gently, "do you wish to abstain from this vote?" Straightened his shoulders. "No, Madam President, I wish to be counted." The president nodded. "Then the vote is called. War Protocol Alpha, full authorization. All in favor." Every hand in the chamber rose. "The vote is unanimous," the president announced. "As of this moment, the Human Federation is at war with the NIGMA Empire. May God have mercy on us all." Activated his communication array one final time. He sent a message on all frequencies, knowing the NIGMA would intercept it. His voice was calm, but his eyes held something that would have terrified the NIGMA if they had understood it. "War Marshal Ox, High Executor Eth, and all leaders of the NIGMA Empire. You were warned. We asked you to leave us in peace. We offered friendship. You responded with genocide. You killed 200,000 innocent people to make a point. You have made your choice, and now we will make ours. This is our second and final warning. Stand down immediately. Withdraw from all human space. Surrender your war criminals for trial. Do this now or face extinction. We are not bluffing. We are not posturing. This is your last chance. The message was broadcast everywhere. And just like before, the NIGMA turned it into entertainment. Across their 300 worlds, NIGMA citizens watched the human ambassador making threats. They laughed. They mocked. They shared jokes about primitive humans who thought they could challenge an empire. On the NIGMA flagship Obsidian Crown, War Marshal Ox watched the message and sneered. Extinction. They threaten us with extinction. They have 37 ships and 23 of those are damaged. We have thousands of ships, tens of thousands. This is amusing. He opened a communication channel. Human ambassador, your warning is noted and dismissed. We will now proceed to your next world, then the next, then the next. We will subjugate every human world one by one until you beg for the mercy of submission. You had your chance for easy surrender. Now comes the hard way. The NIGMA fleet prepared to jump to the next human system. They did not notice the small, dark objects that had been deployed during the battle. Objects that were now drifting through space, running on minimal power, completely invisible to NIGMA sensors. Objects that were gathering intelligence on every NIGMA ship, recording their shield frequencies, mapping their weapon systems, identifying their weaknesses. Commander Lee watched the data stream in from the spy drones and smiled grimly. "Got you," he whispered. Far away, at a hidden research facility, Doctor received authorization codes she had hoped never to use. Codes that unlocked weapons humanity had built but never deployed. Weapons designed by a species that had conquered its own world through 10,000 years of nearly constant warfare. The NIGMA thought they were hunters. They were about to learn what it meant to become prey. The facility known as Odin Station existed in a place most humans did not know about. It orbited a dead star in a system with no planets, no resources, nothing worth claiming. That was exactly why humanity had built it there. General Nam walked through the corridors of Odin Station, his boots echoing in the silence. He had served in the Human Defense Forces for 40 years, rising through ranks during peacetime. He had hoped to retire without ever seeing real war. That hope had died with 200,000 people on Terra Nova. Commander Han was waiting for him in the main briefing room. She was young for a commander, only 32, but her skills had earned her the position of leading humanity's most elite strike team. Behind her stood the members of her unit, 12 soldiers who had trained for missions they prayed would never be necessary. "General," saluted, "the team is ready for deployment orders." Returned the salute. "At ease, Commander. Before we discuss your mission, you all need to understand what you're about to be part of." He activated the room's holographic display. An image appeared showing Earth as it looked millions of years ago, covered in ice and snow. "Our species evolved on a harsh world," began. "We were not the strongest creatures on our planet. We were not the fastest. We did not have claws or armor or venom, but we had something else. We had endurance. We had intelligence. And we had the ability to work together in ways no other species on Earth could match." The display changed, showing early humans hunting a massive creature that looked like an elephant. The humans followed it for days, never stopping, until the creature collapsed from exhaustion. "We hunted by persistence," continued. "We would chase our prey until it died from exhaustion. We were not kind hunters. We were efficient ones, and when we developed weapons, we became even more efficient." The display showed the progression of human civilization. Wars, countless wars, thousands of years of humans fighting humans, developing new and terrible ways to kill each other. "The NIGMA think we are primitive because our ships are simple," said. "They do not understand that simplicity is a choice. We could have built energy shields like theirs. We chose not to because shields require massive power and make ships predictable. We could have built energy weapons. We chose kinetic weapons because they are harder to detect and easier to maintain. He paused, looking at each person in the room. But more than that, we chose to be peaceful. After thousands of years of warfare, humanity finally learned to live together in peace. We explored space not to conquer, but to survive and grow. We met the NIGMA with open hands because we genuinely wanted friendship. The display now showed the footage from Terra Nova, the capital city being destroyed. His voice became hard. They mistook our desire for peace as weakness. They killed our people to teach us a lesson. Now we will teach them one. Another door opened, and Dr. Shin entered the room. He was the head of Project Prometheus, a research program that had operated in secret for decades. He looked tired, as if he had not slept in days. "General, the weapons are ready," said quietly. "All of them." "Show them," ordered. Activated his own display. The first image showed something that looked like a small metal sphere. "Relativistic kill vehicle," explained. "We accelerate it to 90% the speed of light and aim it at a target. When it hits, the impact releases energy equivalent to a nuclear weapon. The NIGMA energy shields cannot stop it because it is a physical object moving too fast for their systems to react." The next image showed what looked like a cloud of dust. Nanoswarm weapons. Billions of microscopic machines that can infiltrate enemy ships and stations. They disable electronics, breach hulls, and can even be programmed to target specific biological signatures. Commander leaned forward, her expression intense. "Biological signatures. We have been studying the NIGMA biology since first contact," said. "We know how their bodies work. We could design weapons specifically to target them, if ordered." There was silence in the room. That crossed a line that made everyone uncomfortable. "We will not use biological weapons," said firmly. "We are at war, but we are still human. We will defeat the NIGMA with tactics, strategy, and conventional weapons. Is that clear?" "Yes, sir," everyone responded. Continued his presentation. "We also have AI-guided hunter-killer drones, advanced electronic warfare systems, and improved faster-than-light drives that will give us mobility advantages." "What about intelligence?" asked. "We need to know where to hit them." Smiled slightly. "That brings us to our secret weapon." He activated a communication channel. "Agent, please report." The display showed a woman with dark hair and sharp eyes. She was sitting in what appeared to be a NIGMA civilian building, surrounded by alien architecture. "Intelligence officer reporting," she said. "I am currently on NIGMA Prime, their capital world. I have been undercover here for 3 years." Everyone in the room stared in shock. 3 years. Humanity had only known about the NIGMA for 30 days. Seemed to read their thoughts. "Humanity has been preparing for first contact for a long time. We sent scouts into unexplored space. I was assigned to infiltrate the NIGMA empire before they knew we existed. I have been mapping their military installations, government centers, and fleet positions for years." "You have been alone on an alien world for 3 years?" asked, her voice filled with respect. "It was necessary," replied simply. "And now it will be worth it. I am transmitting everything I have gathered. Locations of every military base, every fleet assembly point, every government building in all 300 NIGMA systems. I have also identified the locations of the NIGMA leadership, including War Marshal Ox and High Executor Ev." The amount of intelligence was staggering. Watched as the data flooded into Odin Station's computers. 3 years of work delivered in minutes. "Outstanding work," Agent said. "What is the situation on NIGMA Prime?" "They are celebrating," reported, her voice bitter. "The footage of Terra Nova's destruction is playing everywhere. They think they have won. Their military is not on high alert. They have no idea what is coming." Turned to his staff. "Then we will use that against them. Assemble the War Council. It is time to present our strategy. An hour later, the human military leadership gathered in a secure communication network. Admirals, generals, and intelligence officers from every human world were present via hologram. General stood before them with his strategy displayed for all to see. The NIGMA Empire controls 300 systems, he began. They have thousands of ships and billions of citizens. In a traditional war of attrition, they would win. So we will not fight a traditional war. The display showed a map of NIGMA space. Red markers appeared on every NIGMA military installation, every fleet position, every government center. Thanks to agents' intelligence, we know exactly where to strike. We will launch simultaneous attacks across all 300 systems within a 72-hour window. We will use our mobility advantage to hit hard and fast. We will destroy their military capacity before they can coordinate a defense. Sir, one admiral said hesitantly, that would require committing every ship we have. If we fail, humanity will be defenseless. If we hold back, the NIGMA will destroy us world by world, replied. This is total war. We commit everything or we die. The room was quiet. Then one by one the commanders nodded. We strike in 48 hours, announced. Mobilize all fleets, prepare all weapons. The NIGMA Empire had its chance for peace. Now they face extinction. Far away on NIGMA Prime, War Marshal Ox was planning his next attack on human space. He did not notice the increased communications traffic in human systems. He did not see the fleets mobilizing from hidden staging areas. He was too busy enjoying his victory. He would realize his mistake soon enough. Fleet Admiral stood on the bridge of the human flagship Defiance, watching the countdown timer reach 0. Around him, the bridge crew worked in focused silence. They had trained for this moment, but training was different from reality. Today, they would either save humanity or die trying. All fleets report ready, sir, his communications officer announced. 2,300 ships in position across 300 target systems. 2,000 ships. It was almost the entire human military. Every warship, every carrier, every destroyer had been committed to this operation. If they failed, humanity would have nothing left to defend itself with. Send the signal, ordered. All fleets, execute attack protocol. May whatever gods are listening forgive us. Across the galaxy, human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect synchronization. The timing was crucial. If even one fleet arrived early and warned the NIGMA, the entire plan would collapse. Captain Bay commanded a destroyer squadron targeting a NIGMA military shipyard in the outer reaches. Her 8 ships appeared in orbit of the NIGMA fortress world and immediately opened fire. The NIGMA had expected many things, but not this. Not a coordinated strike happening everywhere at once. Fire all, commanded. Target their shield generators first. The human kinetic weapons struck with devastating force. The NIGMA shields held for 3 seconds before failing. Without shields, the NIGMA stations were vulnerable. The next volley of fire tore through the shipyard's hull, causing explosions that lit up the darkness of space. Enemy ships launching, her tactical officer reported. 30 NIGMA frigates coming online. Release the nanoswarms, ordered. Small canisters launched from her destroyers, each one containing billions of microscopic machines. The swarms spread through space, invisible to NIGMA sensors. When they reached the NIGMA ships, they began their work. Electronics failed. Life support systems shut down. Weapons refused to fire. The NIGMA frigates drifted helplessly as the human destroyers systematically destroyed them. The same scene played out in 300 systems simultaneously. The NIGMA had superior numbers overall, but the humans had achieved perfect surprise. More importantly, They were fighting like nothing the NIGMA had ever encountered. On NIGMA Prime, Supreme Overlord was woken by emergency alarms. He rushed to the command center, still wearing his sleeping robes, and found chaos. His military commanders were shouting over each other, trying to make sense of conflicting reports. "What is happening?" demanded. "The humans' overlord," War Marshal Ox said, his 4 eyes wide with shock. "They are attacking everywhere, every system, every military base, all at the same time." "Impossible," said. "They do not have enough ships." "They do, Overlord. We underestimated their fleet size. But more than that, we underestimated their tactics. They are not fighting like any species we have encountered. Their ships move unpredictably. Their captains make decisions independently rather than waiting for orders. We cannot counter their strategies because they have no pattern." On the human flagship Defiance, Admiral watched the battle report stream in. The casualty numbers were heavy but acceptable. More importantly, the NIGMA were losing. Badly. "Sir, NIGMA Prime's defensive fleet is mobilizing," his tactical officer reported. 400 ships moving to engage us." Had anticipated this. Signal Commander, begin ground assault. High above NIGMA Prime, military transport ships dropped through the atmosphere. Inside one of them, Commander checked his combat armor one final time. Behind him, 2,000 human soldiers prepared for battle. Their mission was simple but dangerous: capture the NIGMA leadership alive. 30 seconds to landing, the pilot announced. Activated his team's communication network. "Listen up. We are not here for revenge. We are not here to slaughter civilians. We are here to capture war criminals and end this conflict. Rules of engagement remain in effect. Only fire on combatants. Protect civilians when possible. Understood?" "Yes, sir," came the chorus of responses. The transports landed near the NIGMA Capitol building. The assault teams poured out, moving with military precision. The NIGMA guards opened fire, but human combat armor was designed to withstand significant damage. The soldiers advanced steadily, returning fire only at military targets. Commander Han led her elite team directly into the Capitol building. They had studied the layout from agents' intelligence. They knew exactly where the NIGMA leaders would be hiding. "Third floor, eastern wing," said into her communication device. "Confirm the Overlord's location." From somewhere inside the building's voice responded. "Confirmed. He is in the command center with Ox and the military staff. I am guiding civilians to safety on the lower floors." His team breached the command center door with precision charges. They stormed in, weapons ready, and found themselves facing Supreme Overlord and 24 NIGMA military officers. War Marshal Ox reached for a weapon but was faster. She shot the weapon out of his hand. Supreme Overlord announced, "I am Commander Han of the Human Defense Forces. You are under arrest for war crimes, including the genocide of 200,000 civilians on Terra Nova. Surrender now and you will face trial. Resist, and we will use necessary force." Stared at her in disbelief. You dare enter our capital world. You dare arrest the Supreme Overlord of the NIGMA Empire." "Yes," said simply, "we dare." His 4 eyes looked around the room, seeking help. His guards were already being disarmed by human soldiers. His military commanders stood frozen in shock. The mighty NIGMA Empire was being conquered by a species they had considered primitive. "I began," then his voice grew stronger. "I wish to surrender. The NIGMA Empire surrenders. Please stop the attacks. We will accept any terms." Activated her communication link. "Admiral, the Overlord is offering surrender." On the flagship Defiance, Admiral listened to the surrender offer. Around him, his bridge crew looked hopeful. The war could end right now. They could stop the killing and negotiate peace. But thought about Terra Nova. He thought about 200,000 civilians who had been killed to make a point. He thought about the NIGMA broadcasts celebrating that massacre. "Commander, secure the prisoners for transport to trial," he ordered. "All fleets continue operations. Destroy all NIGMA military installations. Dismantle their fleet. Leave them unable to wage war." "Sir," his second-in-command said quietly, "they are trying to surrender." "They had their chance to surrender," replied coldly. "Ambassador warned them, they laughed, they killed our people, they celebrated it, now they face the consequences." The human fleets continued their assault. NIGMA military bases were reduced to debris. Shipyards were destroyed. Fleet assembly points were hit with relativistic kill vehicles that left nothing but craters. The NIGMA had built their empire over 10,000 years. Humanity dismantled it in 72 hours. On NIGMA Prime, War Marshal Ox was placed in restraints and loaded onto a human transport ship. As he was led away, he saw something that broke his spirit. Human soldiers were distributing food and medical supplies to NIGMA civilians. Children who had lost their parents in the fighting were being cared for by the same humans who had just destroyed the NIGMA military. "Why?" Ox asked the guard escorting him. "Why help them after we killed your people?" The guard, a young woman with tired eyes, looked at him. "Because they are not you. They are civilians, innocents. We do not make war on children." Ox did not understand. In NIGMA culture, victory meant total domination. Mercy was weakness, but humans seemed to fight with terrible efficiency while still maintaining moral boundaries. It was a combination the NIGMA had never encountered. As the transport lifted off, Ox looked down at NIGMA Prime. His was intact. The city still stood, but the military installations were gone. The fleets were destroyed. The empire had fallen in 3 days. Fleet Admiral watched the final reports come in. The battle was over. Humanity had won, but the cost had been high. 300 ships destroyed, 50,000 soldiers killed, another 100,000 wounded. "Sir, we are receiving surrender offers from NIGMA governors across their space," his communications officer reported. "Also, several subject species under NIGMA rule are declaring independence. The empire is fragmenting." Nodded slowly. The NIGMA empire, which had ruled for 10,000 years, was coming apart, all because they had underestimated humanity and ignored a simple warning. "Send a message to all NIGMA worlds," he ordered. "The war is over. Humanity seeks no territory and no tribute, but the NIGMA military is disbanded. Their leaders will face trial. Any attempt to rebuild their war machine will be met with immediate force. They had peace offered to them. They chose war. This is the result." The message was broadcast across all 300 former NIGMA systems. In living rooms and meeting halls, NIGMA civilians listened in stunned silence. Their mighty empire had been defeated in 3 days. The humans had proven that size and age meant nothing without wisdom. 6 months after the war ended, President walked through the ruins of what had once been the capital city of Terra Nova. The crater was still visible, a massive wound in the planet's surface. Around it, construction crews were beginning to rebuild. The work would take years. The grief would last longer. Ambassador Park accompanied her, along with a security detail. They were here for the memorial dedication ceremony. 200,000 names were being carved into black stone walls that would stand as a permanent reminder of what had been lost. "Madam President," said quietly, "the Galactic Council is still waiting for your response to their invitation." The Galactic Council. After the fall of the NIGMA Empire, other alien civilizations had revealed themselves. Dozens of species who had been watching humanity from afar. They had seen what humans could do when provoked. Now they were very eager to establish friendly relations. "Tell them I will attend," replied. but make it clear that humanity will not join any military alliances. We fought this war because we had to, not because we wanted to. We remain a peaceful species. We just happen to be very good at war when necessary." They reached the memorial site. Thousands of people had gathered, humans from every colony world. In the front row sat the survivors, men and women who had lost family members in the attack. Among them was a young woman named, who had been just 17 when the NIGMA destroyed her city. She had been named after Admiral Song, the commander who had fought so bravely in the defense of Terra Nova. Young had become a historian, dedicating her life to documenting the war and ensuring that future generations understood what had happened. She had interviewed survivors, studied military records, and even traveled to former NIGMA worlds to understand the other perspective. President stepped up to the podium and looked out at the gathered crowd. The speech had been written weeks ago, carefully crafted by advisors and diplomats. She set it aside and spoke from her heart instead. "6 months ago, we were attacked by an empire that thought we were weak," she began. "They were 10,000 years old. They controlled 300 worlds. They had technology more advanced than ours in many ways, but they made a fundamental mistake. They assumed that our desire for peace meant we were incapable of war." The crowd listened in silence. "We warned them," continued, "not once but twice. We told them to leave us in peace. We offered friendship. We showed restraint. They responded by killing 200,000 of our people. 200,000 fathers and mothers, brothers and sisters, friends and neighbors. They killed them to teach us a lesson about power." She paused, her voice thick with emotion. "And so we taught them a lesson in return. In 72 hours, we destroyed an empire that had existed for 10,000 years. We dismantled their military. We captured their leaders. We broke their power completely." From his prison cell on Earth, War Marshal Ox listened to the speech on a screen. He was awaiting trial, along with High Executor Eth and dozens of other NIGMA war criminals. His future was certain. He would be found guilty and executed for his crimes. But what haunted him was not his impending death. It was the knowledge of what he had unleashed. The NIGMA empire was gone. 94% of the NIGMA population had died in the war and the chaos that followed. Starvation, disease, and civil war had killed more NIGMA than human weapons ever did. The surviving NIGMA lived in small reservations, their culture destroyed, their pride shattered. His species was functionally extinct, and it was his fault. "They warned us," he whispered to his empty cell. "They warned us." On the memorial site, President was finishing her speech. The galaxy watched what happened here. They saw that humans are peaceful until pushed too far. They saw that we value life, even enemy life, which is why we tried so hard to avoid this war. But they also saw that when we are forced to fight, we fight to win. Completely, totally, without compromise. She gestured to the memorial walls behind her. "These names represent people who should still be alive, who should be raising their children, tending their gardens, living their peaceful lives. The NIGMA took that from them, and so we took everything from the NIGMA." In the crowd, Young listened carefully, recording every word for her research. She had studied the war from every angle, trying to understand how it had happened. Her conclusion, which would become the foundation of her doctoral thesis, was simple. The NIGMA had failed to understand that the most dangerous opponent was not the one who loved war, but the one who hated it yet was willing to wage it anyway. The ceremony continued with a moment of silence. 200,000 names were too many to read aloud. Instead, a holographic display showed each name, one by one, along with a photo if available. The display would run for 3 days, never stopping, ensuring that every person was remembered. Ambassador Park sat in the audience, his hair now completely white. He had survived the war, but his spirit had been broken by it. He was the man who had issued both warnings to the NIGMA. He had tried so hard to prevent the conflict. In the end, his warnings had been proven accurate, but that brought him no satisfaction. After the ceremony, he approached President. "Madam President, I am submitting my resignation. I cannot continue as an ambassador. Every time I meet with alien species, I see their fear. They are terrified of us now, and I understand why." Looked at him with sympathy. "Ambassador, you did nothing wrong. You gave them every chance. You tried your best to avoid war." "I know," replied, "but I also know that I am the face they remember, the human who warned them before we destroyed them. I cannot continue in that role. I need to step away." Accepted his resignation. Retired to Terra Nova, where he spent his remaining years tending to the memorial gardens. He never spoke publicly about the war again. At the Galactic Council headquarters, Ambassador Park presented humanity's position to the assembled alien species. There were 47 different civilizations represented, each one eager to understand the humans who had defeated the NIGMA. "We do not seek to dominate you," explained. "We do not want your territory or resources. We want what we have always wanted: peaceful coexistence, mutual respect, and the freedom to live our lives without interference." An alien delegate, a being that looked like a floating jellyfish, asked the question everyone was thinking. "But what if another species threatens you? Will you destroy them as you destroyed the NIGMA?" His expression became serious. "We have established what we call the Terra Nova Doctrine. Humanity will not strike first. We will always seek diplomatic solutions. We will offer warnings and chances for peace. But if a species kills our civilians to intimidate us, if they commit genocide to teach us a lesson, then yes, we will respond with overwhelming force. We will not fight a limited war. We will fight to ensure the threat can never rise again." The chamber fell silent. The message was clear: attack humanity at your own risk. "Is this a threat?" the jellyfish alien asked. "No," replied. "It is a promise, a guarantee. We will leave you alone if you leave us alone, but test us and you will face the same fate as the NIGMA. We are not monsters, we are not conquerors, but we are survivors, and we will do whatever is necessary to ensure our species survives." The Galactic Council voted to recognize humanity as a sovereign power with protected borders. No species would be permitted to enter human space without invitation. It was the first time in galactic history that such protection had been granted based purely on fear of what might happen if it was violated. Back on Terra Nova, Young was conducting her final interview for her research. She sat across from an elderly NIGMA named, one of the few who had survived the war and accepted relocation to a human world. He lived in a small apartment, supported by human aid programs. "Why did your people not listen to the warnings?" asked gently. His 4 eyes were cloudy with age, but his mind was still sharp. "Because we had never been defeated. For 10,000 years, we conquered every species we encountered. We believed we were invincible. We believed that size and technology made us superior. What do you understand now that you did not understand then?" "That war is not about size or technology," replied. "It is about will, about determination, about the willingness to do whatever is necessary to protect what you love. Humans loved peace more than we could understand, but when peace was taken from them, they loved their survival more. We could not compete with that." Thanked him for his time and left the apartment. She walked to the memorial site, where she often went to think. The black walls with their 200,000 names stood as a reminder of the cost of the war. She thought about War Marshal Ox, who would be executed next month. She thought about Supreme Overlord, who had died in prison from what humans called a broken heart. She thought about the NIGMA species, reduced to a few thousand survivors living on charity from the species they had tried to subjugate. But mostly, she thought about the last words had written before he died, words that had been carved into the memorial alongside the human names. "They warned us this would happen if we touched humanity. We should have listened." Ambassador Park read those words every day as he tended the memorial gardens. Now in his 90s, he moved slowly among the flowers he had planted. Each flower represented a life lost. 200,000 flowers, carefully tended, never forgotten. A young couple approached him one day, tourists from another human world. They did not recognize the elderly man as the famous ambassador who had issued the warnings. "Excuse me, sir," the woman said. "Can you tell us about the memorial?" Smiled gently. "These walls hold the names of people who died because we were too peaceful, because we believed warnings would be enough, because we thought rational beings would choose peace over war." "But they did not," the man said. "No," agreed. "They did not. And so we taught them why humans warned first. We gave them every chance. We showed restraint even when it cost us. But in the end, we did what was necessary to survive." He looked up at the walls covered with names. "We are not monsters. We never wanted this war. But we are human, and that should have been enough. That should have been warning enough." The couple thanked him and moved on, returned to his flowers, tending them with care, remembering each person they represented. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity was not to be tested. The price was too high. And in the ruins of the NIGMA, a small group of survivors gathered around their own memorial. It bore the names of billions who had died in a war that should never have happened. At the top of the memorial, in letters larger than all the rest, were carved 3 words that had become the epitaph of an extinct empire. "They warned us.